Today I'm going to show you how to make an easy one-pan bratwurst dinner, but you also get a potato salad with roasted potatoes and baby kale. And it all goes into the oven at the same time, which I love. Bratwursts were pretty much the only sausages we ate growing up because my mother's German and she loves bratwurst. Hates all the sausage, but yes to bratwurst. So I've come to love bratwurst over the years, and this is a great way to cook it because it's hands-off and it's in the oven and it gets nice and roasted. So as I mentioned, the potatoes are going on the sheet pan at the same time, and I'm just gonna prep those real quick just by cutting them in half. Now I scrubbed these potatoes already, and this is just a pound of baby red potatoes, or little red potatoes, or new red potatoes. So many terms for this size potato. But what you want is a potato, what is that, a large grape, a double size olive? Yeah, golf ball size potato. If they're larger, you're gonna have to cut them into smaller pieces, obviously. So cutting them in half, that way the cut sides go face down on the baking sheet and they get nice and golden. All right, so just cutting these little guys in half. All right, now I'm gonna put them in a bowl, toss them with just a little bit of olive oil, about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and a little bit of salt and pepper. 2 tablespoons. Salt, a little pepper. This is how I toss them. It's kind of fun. It's always a game to see if you can keep them all in the bowl. Oh, I'm winning. All right, that's good. That's it for the potatoes. Now for the red onions. They're gonna roast on top of the bratwursts in the oven. They get nice and soft and sometimes a little crisp around the edges. We're gonna slice these nice and thin. So what I'm doing is I'm trimming off the tip end of the onion. The trim bowl, which usually in my house is a dog bowl, is just nice to have off to the side when you're prepping vegetables because you can put your vegetable trims in there and it helps keep your cutting board clean. And there's a saying that is, you cook as well as you clean. I'm a firm believer in that. All right, so cut each onion in half. Gonna take the outer skin off and that first layer. That first layer can be a bit bruised and also can be a bit stinky and leathery. So now I'm also gonna trim off the root end because I'm gonna cut these onions pole to pole. And I really prefer cutting things pole to pole if you're cutting sliced onions because they look a little less wormy. You know, they have a nice, gentle, graceful shape. All right, let's get this board cleaned up here. All right, to thinly slice an onion pole to pole. So this is where the tip and the root were that I trimmed off. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna angle my knife as I slice thinly. About halfway through, I usually tip it on its side just to make it easier. And then this is the game. How thin can you go? Right in the middle. All right, so here we go again. There we go. These go into a bowl. We're gonna toss these with a little bit of olive oil, about a tablespoon. This is also when I like to pull out my bench scraper. Just makes it easy to get the little bits off the board. All right, a little bit of olive oil, about a tablespoon. For these, I'm gonna get my hands in there, really break up the onions. That way they'll roast nice and evenly. All right, so that's all the prep that this dinner takes, just the potatoes and the onions. I have 4 nice big bratwursts sitting there. So the key to this dinner is roasting all these things at the same time on a preheated baking sheet. So the baking sheet has been heating up in this oven. It is good and hot. Woo, she's a hot pan. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the bratwurst. Hear that sizzle? That's how you get browning on a bratwurst in the oven. Oh yeah, so we're gonna put these on this side. I'm gonna put the potatoes on the other side. And I am gonna take my time and flip them cut side down. You want those cut sides to get nice and roasted. You could use tongs here if you want to. I kind of have asbestos fingertips at this point, so it's not that hot for me. All right, so potatoes on one side, brats on the other, and now these onions are just gonna go right kind of around the brats, a little over the brats. I like them picking up all that brat flavor. All right. All right, so this sheet pan is ready for the oven. It's a 425-degree oven, and this will cook through in about half an hour. But of course, halfway through, I'm gonna flip those brats over so they get nice and browned on both sides. Those brats are just finishing up in the oven, and now I'm gonna make a quick dressing for the potatoes that will then add the baby kale and the radishes to. And this is a time when I do measure things out. I want the right amount of vinegar to olive oil. So I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar with my nice little measuring cup. I love this thing. It's great because not only is it accurate, it's tiny and can go in the dishwasher. All right, now I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of olive oil. So that's a pretty hearty ratio of oil to vinegar. That's a 2-to-1 ratio, which makes a strong vinaigrette, but with the potatoes and everything we're adding, it's good here. I'm gonna add the oil. We're gonna add some homemade mustard, about 2 tablespoons. Last but not least, a little salt and pepper. All right, let's just whisk this together. Nice and simple, good flavors, especially with that mustard. All right, now let's take a look at the brats in the oven. Oh, yes. See, I know it looked a little dicey halfway through, right? But the brats really do get nice and brown in the second 15 minutes. You can see they get brown on both sides. All right, so what I'm gonna do is take a metal spatula and I'm gonna scrape up the potatoes. Oh, see that browning on the potatoes? Here, let me hold one up for you. That's what we're talking about. That's a preheated baking sheet and that's a little oil on the potatoes. Oh, tastes so good. All right, so I'm gonna scrape up the potatoes. A few of the onions might get in there, that's okay. Really gonna go right into the dressing. That way they'll soak up all that flavor. There we go. All right, we're gonna let these potatoes cool down in this dressing. Meanwhile, I'm going to cover the brats and the onions just with a little foil so they stay warm. All right, and last but not least, I'm gonna toast the buns. So I'm pretty picky about my buns. I really don't like hot dog buns. I like a more firm hoagie style roll. And these ones are nice and short so the bratwurst stick a little bit out the ends, which I like. Now I'm gonna cut them so we can fit the brats in, and I'm gonna cut them down the top. That's after years of experience, because when you take a bite and put it down, if you cut it through the top, you have a nice flat surface. If you go through the side, it gets all wobbly. All right, so into the oven these go, about 5 minutes, right on the oven rack to toast. Right, so those are gonna toast for about 5 minutes, which gives me a little time to slice some fresh radishes for the salad. Now the recipe calls for 4 radishes, but these radishes are tiny. I mean, that's the size of a blueberry, which means it's gonna have probably a very sweet flavor. So I'm gonna use a few more than 4, probably 6 or 8. Oh, that little one tasted good. Peppery. So those rolls are in the oven, almost done toasting. Now I'm just gonna assemble the salad. There are some of the radishes. So now I'm gonna add about 5 ounces of baby kale, which is about 5 cups. And I love baby kale because it has real flavor and texture, unlike some other of the baby lettuces that are more delicate, especially when you have the roasted potatoes. It just makes sense here. So now I'm just gonna toss this together. Got a few free spirits there that like to jump out of the bowl. Using my salad hands, these are perfect for salads like this that are on the hearty side because it really keeps your fingers clean, but it really helps get down to the bottom. You can really toss things up and through. Oh, that mustard smells good. All right, so there is the salad. Now let's get those rolls out of the oven. Ooh. And I like toasting the rolls not only because I like the texture, but I feel as though it almost refreshes them, you know, from being more stale out of the bag to being freshly baked. Now for the brats. Oh, hello, lovelies. All right, I assemble everyone's brats. Right on the, oh, you can see the steam coming off that roll. Yes, please. Oh. All right, and you can see these onions, they really have cooked down. Some of them are a little caramelized, which is lovely. I like stirring them around so that really mixes up the caramelized ones with the ones that are still just a little softened. So on goes a little mustard. Yes, please. A little for you, and a little for you, oh, and a little for you. On goes a little bit of sauerkraut. I never eat brats without sauerkraut. And I love making it, but also there's so many good versions of sauerkraut you can find in the stores now, including red sauerkraut and beet sauerkraut, which I love the flavor, but I love the color. I just think it makes these bratwurst look a little bit more festive, a little bit more like party dogs. Party dogs. That sounds like a good name for this meal. Sounds like something that would happen to my house for sure. The mat in the front of my house says, "Hope you like dogs," because our dogs are crazy. They'll greet you whether you want them to or not. All right, oh, a little red cabbage. Last but not least, some of these roasted onions. Oh, that last one got a lot of onions. Leave some onions on the side for those who want it. All right, and that's it. That's as easy as it gets for a nice, easy dinner of bratwurst and roasted potato salad with kale. A little more potatoes for me. Oh yeah, and that's it. As easy as it gets for a bratwurst and warm potato salad. Of course, what goes better with brats and potatoes than a nice cold beer? This is a nice mild lager, and this glass is from my grandparents' house. I used to think it's a Pilsner glass, and it's in that shape. I never saw my Opa drink out of these, but he had a nice set of them. I think maybe they were for company. So, my Opa's glass. Now time to eat. The roasted potatoes with that little bit of dressing, red wine dressing, and that homemade mustard is everything. All right, I'm going in. This kind of meal is not for the faint of heart. I mean, this is a shirt. I call it a shirt killer. Like the shirt's going down. So I'm all in. I'm not precious about this. Perfect flavors. The bratwurst is a little roasted. The mustard, the toasty bun, the roasted onions, that little bit of sauerkraut. This is a good dinner. Oh, ice cold beer tastes good with the brats and the potatoes and the homemade mustard. This is a very German dinner and I'm loving it. Thanks for watching. What'd you think? Leave a comment below and let me know what you're excited to cook this week. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. You can get today's recipes and more for free at our website, americastestkitchen.com/JuliaAtHome.